You already decided if you like your new coworker. You did it in about 7 seconds, before they said a single meaningful word, before you saw them handle a hard problem or a bad day or a moment of stress. You looked at their face, maybe their smile, maybe how put together they seemed, and your brain quietly filled in the rest of their personality for you. It guessed they were probably smart, probably kind, probably good at their job. Not because you had evidence, just because they looked like someone who would be. This happens constantly, and almost nobody notices it happening to them. Think about the last time you trusted a stranger's advice because they were well-dressed, or assumed a good-looking person was also more competent, or figured a friendly voice on the phone meant an honest company on the other end. None of that is really about the person. It's about a shortcut your brain takes without asking permission. Picture a job interview. 2 candidates, same resume, same answers. One walks in looking sharp, confident, easy to smile. The other seems a little nervous, a little plain. Somehow, the first candidate gets remembered as more capable. Not because they proved it, because one trait made every other trait look better by association. That's the moment worth pausing on. Why does one good impression spread like that? Why does it color everything else? This is the halo effect, and it's one of the oldest documented biases in psychology. It describes what happens when one positive trait, something as simple as attractiveness or charisma, quietly convinces your brain that other unrelated traits must also be positive. The term comes from psychologist Edward Thorndike, who noticed something strange back in the 1920s while studying how military officers rated their soldiers. Officers who rated a soldier as physically impressive also rated them higher on intelligence and leadership, traits that had nothing to do with each other. Thorndike realized the ratings weren't independent at all. One glowing impression was leaking into every other judgment, like a halo spreading light around a single point. Decades later, researchers Karen Dion, Ellen Burscheid, and Elaine Walster ran a now famous study on attractiveness. People shown photos of attractive individuals assumed those individuals were also more sociable, more successful, and even more likely to be good parents. Nothing in the photo proved any of that. The brain simply borrowed goodness from one trait and applied it everywhere else. Here's the part that explains why this feels so invisible from the inside. Psychologists Richard Nisbett and Timothy Wilson ran an experiment where students watched a professor on video, either warm and friendly or cold and distant. Afterward, students rated the same professor's appearance, mannerisms, even accent completely differently, depending only on that first warmth or coldness. And when asked if their judgment of appearance was influenced by likability, most said no. They were certain the two were separate. They weren't. That's the real mechanism. Your brain isn't lying to you on purpose. It's doing what it always does under uncertainty, looking for the fastest, coherent story and treating one good clue as if it were many. Now, flip the example. Think about a beautifully designed app or website. Clean layout, smooth animations, a nice logo. You probably assumed the company behind it was trustworthy, competent, maybe even secure with your data. But a good interface tells you nothing about how a company handles your information. You just let one polished trait vouch for everything you couldn't actually see. It shows up in courtrooms, where more attractive defendants receive lighter sentences on average. It shows up in classrooms, where a single well-written essay can make a teacher expect brilliance from every assignment that follows. It shows up in relationships, where an early, charming gesture can make you overlook a pattern that should have worried you. So here's the practical shift. Next time you catch yourself fully trusting someone or something, fast. Ask what specifically earned that trust. Was it their competence or just their charisma? Was it the product's quality or just its packaging? Separate the trait you actually verified from the traits your brain quietly assumed for free. You already decided if you trust that coworker, but maybe it's worth asking what you actually saw and what your brain simply lit up around it. If this changed how you'll look at your next first impression, you know what to do. Subscribe and tell me in the comments the last time a halo fooled you.